So there are different terms. And also at the start, I really got confused because one person was talking about regenerative agriculture, organic farming, circular agriculture, agroecological, nature-inclusive farming, agroforestry. I get a headache. But if you look at organic farming, that's also holistic. It considers the total of farming, integration of different parameters, and not only a standalone. If you turn here something, then it will change the whole system. The idea is that also the agro-ecosystem health should be enhanced, and it emphasizes the use of management systems, not so much of the use of inputs, but more how to manage your crop, how to integrate activities that will lead to better crop health, better soil health. It's really locally adapted systems. You cannot have an organic farm from the Netherlands in Thailand, for instance, with the same methodology, because the organic farming also looks at the environment and regional differences. And the biggest aspect of organic farming, it does not use any synthetic material. Well, to a certain extent, of course, because some materials are still made of plastic or are synthesized, but as inputs for crop growth, like fertilizers, pesticides, they are not synthetic. So the next one, circular agriculture, that's to optimize the use of biomass. And that's also what regenerative agriculture includes, that we have to optimize the use of biomass to improve soil quality, soil health. And also in circular agriculture, it tries to reuse waste streams and not let them discarding and not used again in agriculture. So actually in circular agriculture, we would like to close especially the nutrient circle. And circular agriculture also looks a lot on local for local. So what's produced local should be consumed local, and then the waste of that should be put back in the field. And that also creates, especially for the Netherlands, difficulties, because especially in the dairy farming, a lot of the cattle feed is imported from South America, creating a lot of excess nutrients in the Netherlands, because the nutrients are not taken back to South America. So circular agriculture is not easy to implement in the Netherlands if we would like to rely on that system that we have currently. Agroecological or nature-inclusive farming, it's the use of natural processes, use a lot of what nature offers, limit the use of purchased inputs, and also with circular agriculture, it promotes closed cycles. So it's a bit of a combination of organic farming, circular agriculture. Agroforestry, it's traditional modern land use system. The biggest aspect of it is that trees are grown together with annual crops, and it should lead to diversification and increase social, economic, and environmental benefits. The idea behind it is that with deep rooting trees, they will, maybe it's a wrong term, but they will pump up water, nutrients from very deep layers that vegetable crops cannot reach. And since the leaves are dropping, then the nutrients are brought up to the upper layer. And also the trees offer shades that can also protect the annual crops. So ecosystem services in regenerative agriculture, it's closely linked to nature, regulating adverse conditions to crop production. So it tried to minimize negative effects of regional conditions. It supports the agriculture production, and of course, it should provide enough food for everyone, and respecting cultural values. So also regarding the last point, it means that what works in one country might not work in another country because the perception of the farmer is different. Sorry. So regenerative agriculture principles, it's the farmers, they use growing practices that improve the health of the land, of the soil, and then around that big blue circle in the left bottom top, is surrounded then by smaller circles that give you an idea what kind of activities can be done to achieve that goal. Like rotating crops, minimizing chemical inputs, no-till systems. And I think a big issue in the regenerative agriculture principle is integrating livestock, because then you, at the same time, the waste can be recycled by livestock, and on the other hand, the manure and the compost can be integrated in the soil again. And the use of cover crops is also a main principle of regenerative agriculture, to make sure that the soil is never bare. So currently, a lot of farming activities are focusing on, well, let's try not to harm the environment or the climate. But with regenerative agriculture, the principle is more like we have to do better. We have to bring something back and not only stay neutral. And with regenerative agriculture, the result should be that the infiltration and percolation of water should be encouraged, soil erosion should be prevented, restore of soil health. Well, probably I should start with that because that's one of the main principles. Rely more on biological nutrient cycling and not rely on the use of chemical inputs so much anymore. Reverse the biodiversity loss. Look at plant diversity, such as diverse rotations, stay away from monocropping or big parcels with only one crop. And reduce the reliance on external inputs. So look around, what does the nature offers, what's already here, and use that, rather than only buying inputs. So a bit of a summary. Well, it's also philosophy. So organic farming, and especially biodynamic farming is a subset of organic farming. It's also more a philosophy. It's also the mindset. So it's not only a technical aspect, but also, I'm not going to say it's a religion or a belief, but also you really have to be convinced of the principles. So first of all, and I think that's not only for regenerative farming, but for all things you do, you have to understand the context of what you're doing. And in this specific case, understand what you're doing on your farm. What kind of operations do you do? Minimize soil disturbance. Well, the heavy tillage, the deep plowing, that's really a no-go with regenerative agriculture. Maximize crop diversity. That's also good to enhance the biodiversity. Keep the soil covered. So even if you don't grow a cash crop, sow something different. It prevents loss of water, but it also brings back nutrients in the soil, and it builds up organic matter. And maintain a living root year round, well, that's connected to keep the soil covered, because if you keep on growing crops, it also means that there are roots year round living in the soil. And then also an important aspect of regenerative agriculture is integrate livestock. So practices related to regenerative agriculture. So now we are coming more to technical aspects. What can we do on the ground with the farmers? This is a bit of a summary again of different versions of regenerative agriculture. On the top row, you see different institutes, organizations that have different practices related to regenerative farming. If you look at Gabe Brown, for instance, that principle that he adheres is limit tillage, plant or crop residues kept on the soil surface, maintain living roots in the soil, diverse crop rotations, multi-species cover crops, and integrate livestock. While drawdown.org only look at limit tillage, diverse crop rotations, cover crops, and that's it. So also regenerative agriculture can be different according to the organization that implements them. And also another organization, WUR, also looks at the ecosystem service regeneration as the main goal, and then looks at target impacts and co-benefits. So farmer livelihoods improvement, carbon dioxide sequestration, biodiversity enhancement, improved water resources quantity, but also quality, and soil health restoration. And then on the right, you can see all kinds of activities or practices that are promoted by this institute, like no-till, direct seeding, diverse crop rotations, cover cropping, compost manure application, but also, again, animal integration and agroforestry. Reducing tillage. If you no-till, the idea behind it is that the more you keep on turning over the soil, the more the organic matter is also exposed to decomposition, meaning loss of organic matter. If you do no-till, then more carbon dioxide and more water will be conserved in the soil. So that's what we call regenerative, while the traditional practices with a lot of tilling, it's degenerative called, because it leads to loss of carbon dioxide and loss of water. And maintaining soil cover also reduces the evaporation of the soil itself. On the other hand, it increases transpiration because the crop needs water for growth, and it needs water to transport through the plant, leading to transpiration. But at the end of the crop, it brings nutrients to the soil when decomposing. So it also makes that the loss of nutrients, the risk is reduced. Also, when there is a soil cover, it reduces erosion and it hosts soil life. With regenerative agriculture, then it also locks up carbon in soil through the cover crops and agroforestry. I will come back to that also later, how we look up to the carbon sequestration and buildup of organic matter, if it's realistic, yes or no. But the principle, it should lead to locking up carbon, and in that way also has an impact on climate change, because the more carbon dioxide is locked up in crops or in soils, the lower the carbon dioxide content in the atmosphere will be, leading to less climate change.